Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Good evening.
Tutorial on Basic Python Programming by GDSC USTP.
안녕하세요. I am Divine Ada, fourth-year data science student, and the GDSC USTP data science head.
Konnichiwa! I am Adrianne Bisoy, data science freshman and USTP GDSC technology ambassador.
Your speakers for the iDebit Basic Python Programming tutorial.
You wanted to program because you saw the amazing things that can be built using programming. So don't just learn how to program. Build something that matters. Build something that means something to you. Build something that solves a problem. You're a problem solver, a creator, an innovator. You're not a programmer. Programming is just a tool in your arsenal to build something amazing. You can be analytical, creative, empathetic, and programming allows you to express those qualities of yourself. But programming in of itself is nothing special. It's like a pencil. It can mark stuff down if you press on the pencil hard enough. That's it. But with a pencil, you can write novels, draw beautiful portraits, build plans for a skyscraper, or anything limited only by your imagination. You don't learn how to program to get into Google. You learn how to program to build something meaningful, something that helps real people with real problems.
Given that this is our first session for the Python programming tutorial, we don't want to overwhelm you with the massive capabilities Python can offer. Instead, we'll focus first on these 4 topics: its brief overview, quick demonstration, example outputs, and additional tips and references.
I know most of us know what Python is and its basics, especially to those DS students. Winky face. I know this may sound redundant to others, some sorts, but it's still necessary for this session. Knowing all this information are a vital part of this tutorial. Think of it as the backbone of our talk for today.
As pronounced in Dutch, Fido van Rossum. How did you become the father of Python? Way back December 1989, an interpreted high-level, general-purpose programming language was born. Fido was just simply looking for a hobby to keep him occupied during the week around Christmas. Imagine something mind-blowing and overwhelmingly impressive was created out of a hobby. That na or he coded, Python is an experiment in how much freedom programmers need. Too much freedom and nobody can read another's code. Too little and expressiveness is endangered. There's a huge probability that majority of the participants here already has an idea or are quite familiar with Python. As to its popularity, here are the main reasons why. Python has a simple computer language syntax compared to other languages, and is easier to understand, which makes it beginner-friendly. For those who don't know, syntax in computer programming is the concept of giving specific word sets in specific orders to the computers, so that the computers will do what we want them to do. And since it is an open source, it means that Python is free for everybody. Additionally, it has a huge number of libraries containing varieties of packages. Look, pati library, pati programming, lugar na. Save sa library na ato ang nahibalan, Python libraries are a set or compilation of useful functions that eliminate the need for writing codes from scratch. Instead, nga ato pang i-type again ang kanang possible code, run, or function, ito na lang nato tawgon or i-import kung saan na library na biyahang package ang ato ang kailangan. As of today, there are over 137,000 Python libraries, and these libraries play a vital role in developing data science, machine learning, data visualization, image and data manipulation applications, and so much more. Also, Python is multi-purpose since we can use it in creating machine learning, deep learning, data science models, data analysis, and even create a software with it.
In addition to what Ate Ada has said, Python emphasized the nature of language, so using Python as your first programming language is highly recommendable. Learning it is a must-have if you want to have a swift progress in your programming journey. Not that I have discouraged any other programming though. We have preference, and I respect that. Those are just my personal opinion. Smiley face. Moreover, according to Shai, 2018 from Data Driven Investor, the reason why learning Python is the best decision is because Python is used across diverse fields from a web and game development to machine learning, AI, scientific computing, and academic research. It is easy to learn as a first language and a valuable skill set to have in any programmer's stack because of its diverse usage. So, what are you waiting for? Switch na sa Python channel.
So what's the big deal about Python? Here are a few reasons. With Python, you can solve complex problems in less time with fewer lines of code. Here's an example. Let's say we want to extract the first three letters of the text "Hello World." This is the code we have to write in C#. This is how we do it in JavaScript. And here's how we do it in Python. See how short and clean the language is? And that's just the beginning. Python makes a lot of trivial things really easy with a simple yet powerful syntax. Here are a few other reasons why Python is so popular. It's a high-level language, so you don't have to worry about complex tasks such as memory management like you do in C++. It's cross-platform, which means you can build and run Python applications on Windows, Mac, and Linux. It has a huge community, so whenever you get stuck, there is someone out there to help. It has a large ecosystem of libraries, frameworks, and tools, which means whatever you want to do, it is likely that someone else has done it before, because Python has been around for over 20 years. So in a nutshell, Python is a multi-purpose language with a simple, clean, and beginner-friendly syntax. All of that means Python is awesome. Technically, everything you do with Python you can do with other programming languages, but Python's simplicity and elegance has made it grow way more than other programming languages. That's why it's the #1 language employers are looking for. So whether you are a programmer or an absolute beginner, learning Python opens up lots of job opportunities to you. In fact, the average Python developer earns a whopping $116,000 a year.
Companies who use Python. Google is the most known tech giant who uses Python to provide better search features to its users. Dropbox is a cloud platform to save data online. Its client and server applications have been coded using Python. Netflix uses machine learning with Python to learn the taste of its users, cluster them into groups, and then recommend them shows to retain them for longer. The National Security Agency uses Python for cybersecurity analysis and for the encryption and decryption purposes. The BitTorrent application, which is used for peer-to-peer communication, started out as a simple Python file. NASA scientists use Python to perform calculations, which helps them reduce time and makes their work easier. So these are the major companies who use Python. As you may know, Python is a very important language and it would definitely be beneficial if you start learning it.
Python programming is very significant, especially to data science students like me, Char, and Ate Ada. So, sa mga Ds dyan, alam na. You know when you know. But this isn't limited to data science students only. Of course, this is also those people who are interested to learn Python programming. I want to remind everyone, especially to those aspiring data scientists, data analysts, data architect, machine learning engineer, application architect, and so on that Python is your programming partner. Moving on, I'm going to have a brief discussion about Python basics. So please lend me your ears, sit back, and relax. First up is a discussion of the basic data types that are built into Python. From what the given picture displays, Python basic data types according to realpython.com consist of, first, integers. In Python 3, there is effectively no limit to how long an integer value can be. Of course, it is constrained by the amount of memory your system has. Python interprets a sequence of decimal digits without any prefix to be a decimal number. As you've shown in the picture, that is an example. Floating points numbers. The float type in Python designates a floating point number. Float values are specified with a decimal point. Optionally, the characters e, as shown in the picture, lowercase e, and or uppercase e, followed by a positive or negative integer, may be appended to specify scientific notation. Note, you can readily use floating point numbers in Python without understanding them to this level. Don't worry if this seems overly complicated. Strings are sequences or character data. String literals may be delimited using either single or double quotes. All the characters between the opening delimiter and matching closing delimiter are parts of the string. A string in Python can contain as many characters as you wish. The only limit is your machine memory resources. Of course, string can also be empty. Complex numbers are specified as real part and imaginary part. So as you can see from the displayed image, that is an example. Boolean type, Boolean context, and truthiness. Objects of Boolean type may have one of two values, true and false, as you can see. Expressions in Python are often evaluated in Boolean context, meaning they are interpreted to represent truth or falsehood. A value that is true in Boolean context is sometimes said to be truthy, and one that is false in Boolean context is said to be falsy. The truthiness of an object of Boolean types is self-evident. You will learn more about evaluation of objects in Boolean context when you encounter logical operators. Built-in functions. The Python interpreter supports many functions that are built in. For example, math, abs, returns absolute value of a number, type of conversation, bin, converts an integer to a binary string, iterables and iterators, len, returns the length of an object, composite data type, dict. Oh, please don't have any lewd ideas about this. Creates a dict object and classes, attributes, and inheritance. Del ATVR deletes an attribute from an object. Next up, variable assignment. Think of a variable as a name attached to a particular object. In Python, variables need to be declared or defined in advance, as in the case in many other programming languages. To create a variable, you just assign it a value and then start using it. Assignment is done with a single equal sign. Variable types in Python. In many programming languages, variables are statistically typed. That means a variable is initially declared to have a specific data type, and any value assigned to it during its lifetime must always have that type. Variables in Python are not subject to this restriction. In Python, a variable may be assigned to a value of one type and then may later reassign a value of a different type. So, pwede ma-reassign ang mga value sa Python. Object references. Python is a highly object-oriented language. In fact, virtually every item of data in a Python program is an object of a specific type or class. Object identity. In Python, every object that is created is a given number that uniquely identifies it. It is guaranteed that no two objects will have the same identifier during any period in which their lifetimes overlap. Once an object's reference count drops to 0 and it is garbage collected, then its identifying number becomes available and may be used again. Variable names. The examples you have seen so far have used short, terse variable names like m and n, as shown in the picture. But variable names can be more verbose. In fact, it is usually beneficial if they are because it makes the purpose of the variable more evident at first glance. Officially, variable names in Python can be any length, can consist of uppercase and lowercase letters, digits, and the underscore character. An additional restriction is that although a variable name can contain digits, the first character of a variable name cannot be a digit. Reserved works, keywords. There is one more restriction in identifier names. The Python language reserves a small set of keywords that designate special language functionality. No object can have the same name as a reserved word. Next, in Python, operators are special symbols that designate the same sort of computation should be performed. The values that an operator acts on are called operands. Arithmetic operators consist of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo, floor division, also called integer division, exponentiation, unary positive, and unary negation. Comparison operators. Comparison operators are typically used in Boolean contexts like conditional loop and loops, statements to direct program flow. Logical operators. The logical operators not, or, and modify and join together expressions evaluated in Boolean contexts to create more complex conditions. Bitwise operators treat operands as sequence of binary digits and operate on them bit by bit. Identity operators. Python provides two operators, is and is not, that determine whether the given operands have the same identity. That is, refer to the same object. This is not the same thing as equality, which means that two operands refer to object that contains the same data but are not necessarily the same object. Operator precedence. All operators that the language supports are assigned a precedence. In an expression, all operators of highest precedence are performed first. Once those results are obtained, operators of the next highest precedence are performed. So it continues until the expression is fully evaluated. Any operators of equal precedence are performed in left to right order. Augmented assignment operators. You have seen that a single equal sign is used to assign a value to a variable. It is, of course, perfectly viable for the value to the right of the assignment to be an expression containing other variables. In fact, the expression to the right of the assignment can include references to the variable that is being assigned to. Note that these are all word-for-word references from realpython.com. If ever you have clarifications, violent reactions, recommendations, validations, whatsoever, you can freely visit the site, which is already pasted in the lower part of the pictures. Also, additional references will be given later, so please stay tuned. Potential IDEs for Python programming. Before we proceed, what is IDE, you ask? IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It is an environment where everything you need are there to run a program. First is Spider. This can be downloaded through Anaconda software. Individual edition. Anaconda also contains additional files which is essential for Python programming. You can also sign up for Anaconda Nucleus to learn more about Data Science Society. Next is PyCharm. I noticed that most YouTube tutorials uses this IDE for Python programming, so I assume that most aspiring Python programmers are familiar with this IDE. Then, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Alternative option is if Spider can't be installed or not compatible to Windows version. Also, this IDE is by far the best choice from most programming geeks and sites. And it can also support other programming languages such as C#, C++, and Java. Potential IDEs for Python programming which aren't mentioned: Sublime Text, Vim, GNU, Emacs, Idle, Atom, Eclipse, EricPython, Wing, PyScripter, Paizo, and Tony. The fun part starts or begins here. So excited. In the next session, you guys are required to make or produce your first ever output in our event through Jupyter Notebook and or Google Colab. First thing first, allow me to give some brief description about these two. First is Jupyter Notebook. According to digitallina.com, it is an open source web application that gives you the power to create and share documents that have live code, equations, visualizations, and narrative text. It is an interactive notebook that has many applications and supports over 40 programming languages. Wow! Including Python, R, Julia, Scala, and more. You can download and install it manually through your preferred browser, or you can install Anaconda Individual Edition to launch it easily or conveniently. As for Google Colab, it is a free cloud service that allows you to share Jupyter Notebook without having to download, install, or run anything on your own computer other than a browser. In your preferred browsers, search for Google Colab, and then you're ready to take a next step in your Python programming journey. But wait, there's more. Don't be pressured from the requirements that I've said earlier. We just want to see an easy and simple outputs from you guys just for validation and assessment. Winky face! Let's get started with Python, shall we? Not this one though. Quick demo of Python programming.
This will be discussed later with the activity, so please stay tuned. Winky face.
Samples of Python outputs modified by yours truly, Adrianne Bisoy. Converting image to ASCII art. ASCII art, that's ASCII, pronounced ASCII. Source code coded in Spider. These are my outputs. Making a simple calculator, source code, coded in Microsoft Visual Studio Code. This is the output. So guys, I will show you the real output that I was showing through the slides. So here they are. So for the ASCII, these are my codes, modified codes, and for my output, it will display when I open a terminal. It will display like this. So here, this is the output from the code that I have modified. Another example would be here. Kaway-kaway sa mga nanonood Squid Games. And for my second output, which is the calculator, here is my modified code. And this is the output. Ta-da! The calculator. So, there are 4 operators here. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And they are all working fine. And you can even use large numbers like this. And you can also use decimal. So this is just a basic calculator. So there's no percent or exponent applied in this. So if it's an error, if ever you have errors in your calculations, then a syntax error would also pop up. So that's basically it. Wait, don't panic. The samples are just to spark and lit up your interest. To those beginners, kabalo ko nga, kung na mga advanced dere, wow. Peace. For now, let's focus on a more simple output that can be encoded in our chosen preferred environment for Python. You guys are free to take a screenshot from the given references if you'd like. If you are interested, leave your feedbacks and comments during the live sessions or forums that will be possibly provided after this session, if there's any. And if ever you want to know more or want to share your thoughts, queries, don't hesitate to contact us at USTP GDSC social media platforms. With that said, thank you for your time participating in this virtual session. I hope you guys gained some knowledge or insights from what we discussed and presented. And may this fuel your passion or your burning desire to learn more about Python programming language. As always, keep safe and have a nice day, everyone! GDSC, DSC, and Tech Ambassador, signing out.
心までがまるでエトセトラ大嫌い大好きちゃんと喋らなきゃ夜さして変わらないし良い街を行く人中には嬉しそうだったり寂しそうだったりコントラストが五線譜を飛び回り歌とリズムになるままでと西がとみんなさん飛び出して甘くて苦くて目が回りそうです7000を目指してパーティーを続けよう世界中を驚かせてしまう夜になる I feel 超常連になってリフレクト改善線合理主義の正論にもまれて僕らの音楽は道具になり下がるこっちを向いてよ背を向けないでよそれを正論にならないけど祭りはやしのその後で高ぶったままの人泣き出してしまう人多分同じだろうでも言葉にしようものなら